Hi everybody, it's your Pilates instructor Alana and I am back with another exercise tutorial. We're on our Wunda Chair and we're doing our pumping demi-pointe front. So maybe you've just heard of it as standing footwork, which is totally valid, but we are doing that today. So typically you would introduce this exercise on your high chair where there's handles. So with the addition of the handles, there's more stability, more support. On the Wunda Chair, you do not have handles. So you are literally balancing on one foot on the floor and then one foot on the pedal. So the Wunda Chair is wonderful because you have options. So this is particularly one of those exercises where more or less spring is going to completely change the exercise. At least in my opinion, it changes it. So maybe you're teaching this for the very first time and you don't want the spring to be heavy. You have the freedom to change that spring and make it lighter. So sometimes you could do this on one middle spring, and that's perfectly valid. Typically, when doing it on the high chair, you would do it on two top springs, making it a lot heavier. But again, you have the addition of the handles for support. So I'm going to show you what this would look like on a top and a bottom spring. So again, one of the wonderful things with a Wunda Chair is you have so much freedom and flexibility to play around with spring settings. How I'm thinking about it though is spring efficiency. So obviously in a one-on-one setting when you're training one client at a time, or you're putting yourself through a workout, fine, you can change your springs however you want. But let's say you're teaching this in a class, how can you make this spring setting a little bit more efficient? So as an example, and I'll link some of these videos in the description below so you just have an idea of where I'm going with it. So let's say you did your pull-up, okay? Typically your pull-up, you would do it on a top and a bottom spring. Well, let's say you want to come out of that pull-up and you want to keep one foot on the pedal and you want to just go straight into your pumping. Cool. Okay, then you don't have to change the spring. Or let's say maybe you did your going up front. Cool. When you come down, you place one foot onto the ground and then keep one foot on the pedal. So different exercises, but spring efficiency. So it kind of just depends on where you're going, who you're training, and what your intention is. So either way, I've got my springs set up top and a bottom. So medium to heavy for sure. For me, it feels heavier. Okay, so similar to if you were standing on your high chair, imagine your handles are right here. So when you're doing this on your high chair, your toes are right up at the base of the chair. So the further back, what'll end up happening and what it'll look like is you're leaning forward, and oftentimes it'll get to this where you're arching in your low back. You want a nice opening in your hip joint here. So I'm gonna walk myself forward. You have options of how to get into this. So if it's the first time doing it, maybe somebody needs a little bit more support or stability, you can take your hands down, kind of curl in on yourself. Now think of your single leg stretch. You would float a foot up and press the pedal down, hold the pedal down, take the hands to the hips. Okay, that's option one. Maybe, you've done this a few times. You're a little more advanced. You have a little bit more stability and balance. Just pick a leg up. So I'll actually take my outside leg so you can see it. So just stand nice and tall. Find your stabilizer leg. You're going to float one foot up. Find your foot on the pedal. So feet hip distance parallel. Here you have options. Your standing foot could be turned out if you want it. If that feels better for you, work in a turnout position. I prefer parallel. My foot that's on the pedal is going to be in parallel as well. So here we are with the hands on the hips. Typically, this heel is going to be a little higher. So if somebody has super flexible feet, maybe keep them in a bit of a modified lifted heel. If somebody has a really hard time articulating their feet, try to get them to really lift their heel. Kind of just, whatever the client needs, whatever you need, you have options. But once you pick it, keep it like that. So that's part of the exercise too, is finding that stability of the foot and the ankle. So here we are. Take care that this hip is down. Take care that you're pressing through four corners of that standing foot. You're lifting up through the arch and you're finding your inner thigh like crazy. Options with the hands, keep the hands here, take the hands behind the head, take the arms out to the side, whatever makes you feel balanced. Okay, I'm gonna lift my waist, squeeze my seat, wrap it, and here we go. I'm gonna press down, find my balance, just really feel tall, lifted, and then resist. You have options with how many repetitions you want to do. I would say you don't need any more than 8. Typically, I would say standard is you do 3 press downs, okay? And then on the 4th one, you could add a little bit more. So if somebody's doing well with that, you articulate the ankle. Notice that the hip is staying down. You float the heel up, lift the pedal up. You press, you lower down, you lift up, the waist is lifted, and up. And let's do that one more time. Down, up, lift. And let's say you just feel like adding more. You could hold it down, you could keep the pedal down, and really work the articulation for a few more, just keeping that pedal down. So the work here is using the back of this leg to keep that pedal down. Maybe 3 to 5 of those, or you could hold it halfway and do little pulses, keeping yourself stable. And all the way up and float that foot down. So I'll do the other side, but again, there's no set standard for what you want. You can do whatever you want, but I would say 6 repetitions is pretty normal. 3 where you just lower and lift the pedal, and then 3 where you press the pedal down, lower the heel, lift the heel, return the pedal up. Okay, so here I am again. I'm really close. I'm nice and tall. I float one foot up. I find my alignment. I press my hip down, ground through my inner thigh, find that same elevation of the foot, and I press and I lift. Notice how I'm pausing. I'm pausing down at the bottom. That's the control. Control the pedal and then float it up. Control the pedal, nice and tall, lift the waist and up. And now we'll press it down. We'll hold it down. We lower the heel without the hip moving. We lift the heel and we float it up. Really focus on standing tall through that outside leg. That outside leg, really, that's the sneaky worker. That's the one that's getting a lot more strengthening. And up. And let's say you want to go down and just hold it down and articulate a few times. Really work that range of motion. Keep the knee facing forward. Keep the chest up. One more. That feels like enough. And then you could go for that pumping. You have so many options here with this exercise, and bring it all the way up. Okay, so I did that on the ball of my foot. Maybe you feel it would be better to do it on the arch of the foot. You could do that. Maybe you feel it would be better to do on the heel of the foot. There are so many ways to work your seat, to work the back of the hip. So whatever makes sense for you, you pick what makes sense. All right, if you have any questions on that, leave a comment below. Again, think of staying tall, think of staying lifted, stomach in. You're not leaning back, you're not leaning forward, you're straight up, stacked heel to shoulder to head, one long line. All right, everybody. If you found this from my lesson planning ebook, thank you so much. If you have questions on my lesson planning ebook or anything else, just find links below. I got tons of links. You can find me on my website, boapilates.com. Until next time, have fun doing Pilates. Bye.